And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of The Rundown with Lou as we go through the 5 biggest topics in pop culture and entertainment for the week. So today my panelists are, as I wait for my panelists to pop up, there we go. First off, I have drinking on camera, Mr. Drunk Geek, Anthony Wiggins. What's going on, Ant?
Not much. Just here to talk about this pop culture. Did you send me the list? I don't know. I've been busy.
Oh, Jesus. Next up, we have 1/3 of the Big Black Geeks. Did I say Big Black Geeks?
3.
Jesus, 3. Wait, because the first time, the Big Black Geeks sounds completely. It's so possible. It is so possible that I said that.
Jeez.
Jesus, I don't know how big the geeks are. That it has nothing to do with me. That is not in my personal information. But 1/3 of the 3 Black Geeks, Mr. Chris Powell. What's going on, sir?
Damn, put my whole government name out there. What's going on, man?
I could have said Christopher. I said Christo. See.
Granted, there is multiple versions of my name out there, so yeah, you're right.
Every damn where. Everywhere,
only
man.
Only one voice like that, though, ladies. Only one voice.
Yeah, so what's going on, guys? What's going on? Nothing much. Life, pandemic, quarantine, work.
There you go.
Thankful I got a job. So
hey, as we all are. And last but not least, the man, the myth, the producer, Mr. Goldbelt. What's going on, sir?
What's going on? I mean, I guess you didn't want to take a chance in butchering my name, so you just went without it.
Hey, you see, every week I cut it a little shorter.
Yep. Not much, man. I'm actually watching this Nissan Z unveil, which is really cool. They just released Nissan is premiering the new Nissan Z line. They're doing it in a digital way, so quarantine stuff, pretty cool.
That sounds like
that ain't too bad.
I can't understand that.
Better than other announcements today, shall I say?
I'm about to say it sounds a lot better than the Apple announcement that I thought would be one of our topics today that clearly did not make the cut, as all they did was give us a new iPad. It was just like, it's 2020. That's a big ass phone now. We don't need one of those.
Yeah.
But let's quickly jump into the topics. And the first topic of the week, Mulan. With Mulan performing badly in China, should this worry studios attempt to appeal to 2 different audiences? Everyone knows when Disney made Mulan, they attempted to appeal to an American audience and a Chinese audience. And right now, it seems it's completely killed them in China that they did that. Yeah. So I gotta wonder, is this something we should be looking forward to where studios avoid this? Or is this a trend that they cannot help themselves with? And I'm gonna start off first with the new guy, Chris. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say first off, this is a Lucasfilm problem kind of thing, because the reason why I say that is that Marvel Studios never had this problem. And when I say that is, as much as they tried to appeal to China, it never came off like it was forced. Like, you know, like you look at Star Wars, right? And how they kind of took Boyega off the poster, right? And then you look at Mulan and they're trying to, and it's weird because I thought the way Disney was doing Mulan on the front end, I thought it was going to be like the 2009 live action one that China did, right? And I was like, okay, that's a good angle. They're not going to go with the Mushu dragon because China did not fucking like that shit in the animated form, contrary to what a lot of American people like to think. But I'm like, no, they did not like that shit. So I was thinking it was going to be that, and then when you watch the movie's all right. It's just they added in this extra thing with chi, and I'm like, okay, why would you add that in the movie?
You mean the Force?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But I mean, it's like you didn't need to add that in because your movie already had a good angle going for it. Because if you take that whole aspect out of it, it's a pretty straightforward movie. So it's just like you didn't need to add that in there, and then that's on top of her political thing, which that's a different category altogether. And so all that to combine, China's like, we don't really care for Mulan. And to me, it's a case of they should have just See, I keep saying, could they just made the movie? Because I don't know whether it's just a case of like, just make your movie. Like, who cares what China thinks? Personally, that's how I feel. They're gonna watch the movie anyway. So I mean, why not do what Marvel Studios does? Hey, we already know that y'all guys' movies over in China is gonna probably beat out Avengers, but we don't care. Here's the movie. If you watch it, you watch it. If you don't, you don't. Because didn't that Wolf movie beat out like Avengers or whatever, Endgame or whatever? Was it Red Wolf or some shit like that? It was one
that was an extreme case of it because both of those movies made over 650 million in China.
But so either way, that movie still beat out a American movie big time over there.
That was I would say that's an apple to oranges comparison.
I know, but I'm just
it's hard to compare those two just because it's Mulan. And I know me and Najir, we talked about it a lot. What were your thoughts, sir, about this serving two gods type theory that Disney went with Mulan?
This is probably going to come out really wrong, but is the China market ever happy about films unless it has robots in it? Like it seems like no matter what, you definitely have to be a hometown hero, should I say, for them to be completely buying it. But when it comes down to anything else, it just seems to always be problems. If it's not the money adding up, if it's bad reviews from it, or is it just it being deliberately leaked over there for whatever it may be, it seems to just never be a win case over there unless it involves robots. So if you have robots, like that's the only means of success. So that's what Mulan did wrong. Optimus Prime should have showed up and shut shit down, and this would have been an issue at this point. Seriously. But like on a serious note, like I don't know. I don't feel like Disney's gonna reevaluate their marketing with this because we've seen cases of this work. And sure, this is one that they've really, really wanted to win here. But I don't think this is the one that's going to really make them rethink how they've been traditionally been marketing. I think this definitely will have them scratching heads, but I think they might just chalk it up to the pandemic. But I don't know. I think this is a question that should be revisited in about 6 to 8 months. About did they learn from this, and was this an anomaly, or was this truly the trend of doom to come?
Now, Ant, I'm gonna switch it up because I want you to answer just this part of the question. Should Mulan had just been made for a Chinese audience and released in China instead of attempting to release in America too?
So the thing is, when you're marketing to China, I feel like for all the money Disney's putting into marketing, they're not actually listening, or they don't really have anybody that's telling them what the culture is like. There's a word that that the Chinese audiences use, and I didn't even hear it until one of my foster moms is Chinese, and she said it to me, and I hadn't heard that word before. And it was like bao sui, and it means white left, right? And if you listen to what they're saying about American movies that are getting ported over there, it kind of means something like ignorant woke, like not understanding the situation but putting woke politics into movies, right? So they have a whole like new term for this. And so you're making this movie to one, fit the guidelines of China, because China has guidelines for their movies to be even shown there, right?
Yes.
And then you're trying to make it for an audience here that really, so you're porting the Rey Captain Marvel template over into these movies. And so you're like losing both your bases in a way, right? The few people that you're going there. So and also Mulan is taking a serious legend for them. It's a serious like cultural figure for them. And I forget who, but somebody mentioned they weren't really happy with the first version, but you know, with some of that, you know, the drag, and I'm not gonna speak for the whole country or the whole population or anything like that, but you know, they take these things serious. So you have those two factors coming in there. You need somebody who understands that culture if you're going to market to China. And everything doesn't translate. Everything, like you said, like, robots smashing into each other that don't really, you know, have any political, like, you know, nuances to them and everything like that. That's fine. When you pick a cultural figure like Mulan, take it over there, and you're putting the Western trend of politics now, and you're pouring that in there, you're getting a total Like, they're not excited. They're not going to be excited. They don't care. It might as well be Star Wars to them because they don't care. They have no emotional connection at all. In fact, it annoys them. And you also have somebody who didn't have to, you know, the original Mulan had to work to get to where she was, right? So she was the underdog, had to work hard, had to put in a discipline, had to respect her ancestors, had to do all the other stuff. This new Mulan just is perfect and restraining herself. You know what I mean? And we've seen the same template from Rey, like you said, with the Force. We've seen this template from Captain Marvel. These things are not going to translate to the Chinese off. And it's either stop making it for them, just make a good movie and you'll make your money, or you need somebody that's more culturally competent to be doing your marketing and your planning to port that over there to do both.
Great.
Did that answer the question? Okay.
Actually, it did. Actually, it did. Because again, my biggest thing with this version of Mulan, and I'll give my opinion before we move on to the next topic. My quick issue with the issue of Mulan is that it felt like an American movie. And the chi, unfortunately, felt like a superpower instead of the spiritual awakening it should be. And that really, really hurt this movie with an audience that sees it that way. And it's hard to take a Chinese legend or a legend from any other country. You make it, and then you're kind of making it to a superhero movie. People get a little mad and irritated with entertainment when it's done that way. And speaking
also, Kung Fu movies are a big thing there. You need to know what you're doing. You need to know what you're doing to make a Kung Fu movie.
But it's also this thing too that unfortunately I'm not going to put it on American audiences, but American audiences are too stuck up on the animated cartoons. So it's like, we wish Mushu, where's the sink? And it's like, fuck you, dude. It's a different version. Like, what are we doing? I know that sounds a bit abrupt to say, but it's like at some point you gotta let it go because it's their legend. So as much as I didn't like the chi thing, it's like, well, I'll take this. I mean, you want it singing cool. You got the Disney version right there on your Blu-ray and DVD right there.
Yep. Yeah. I'll say this to end it. For anyone who did not like Disney's version of Mulan, please check out Rise of Mulan, which was a Chinese film made free on YouTube for their audience. That again, I was about to say that it is free on YouTube. Check it out. Let us know what you think about it. Speaking of entertainment that may be running its course, this week we had another big showdown in Verzuz as we had Miss Patti LaBelle versus Miss Gladys Knight, and Patty's lyrics couldn't get it together. Her vocal cords weren't always together. Gladys sounded perfect, but for Verzuz, with the rest of the entertainment field coming back, is it time to stop Verzuz? Or is this something you could continue with a diminished audience? Let's start with you, Najir. What are your thoughts about Verzuz possibly continuing with a greatly diminished audience and attention?
Yeah, I mean, I know that analytics is the driving factor behind it. And that's cool and all. But what I think is what's important is that Verzuz is bringing back a form of unity that we don't really get within the artist community. These mega battles, shall we say, are something that you could never have imagined to ever happen. Having two icons, no matter what genre of music they're coming in, having two icons in that same genre being next to each other, playing each other's songs, singing each other's songs. Playing their songs, singing each other's songs, and just kind of reminiscing and talking through the stories. Some of these Verzuz moments are legit priceless. And for us as the consumers, it's free entertainment. And, you know, we make it a battle. It's called Verzuz nonetheless, but as they try to promote all the time, that is not a battle. But, you know, however we look at it, it's still entertaining. And it's just something, it's one of the blessings that we get out of the pandemic, because this is content that we probably would never have gotten. With them having a backing by Apple, that also creates a higher
huge backing now.
Exactly. Yes. So I don't think it needs to go away. I just think that we absolutely need to focus on the reason why I started. It was never about who can get the highest number. It was never about a battle. It was about just bringing two artists together and giving fans content to do so. So I like the idea of them just continuing to do this in different and better ways. You know, right now, why it's digital, because that's what we're kind of resorted to. I would love to see a Verzuz theme backed by Apple Concert to hit mainstream stages. You know, something like iHeartRadio does. Do one in Vegas whenever it gets back to, and create a set where 2 people and they get on there, and then another set of 2 people. Like, figure out different ways to be creative of it. But again, the most important thing is that it's giving people opportunities to showcase their relevancy, their stature, and their platforms, and prove to us why they are the people they are. I mean, one of the first battles, you know, when people start getting deep into their playlists, you start remembering, like, dang, these people, like, did have good songs. I forgot all about this. And us going back to find those songs is helping put money in their pockets. And, you know, some of these artists may never see a stage again. Who knows who's at high risk and what may not be. So this is just a win-win for everybody involved, as long as we just keep the rightful meaning as to why this started in the first place. And that was for artists to get back to their fans.
All right. What do you think, Ant, about Verzuz possibly needing to go away?
I think it's one of those perfect storm type of things. I think that with us being all locked down from the COVID, this was one of those things that just came out of nowhere and introduced a lot of artists to a new generation that never heard them before, right? It actually started a whole. Like I have a thing where I see a client every week, and he plays one new song for me that I don't know the art. Everybody's seen the name Little Something, and I play something from the back, like so like maybe some DMX tag, and I think, but it reminds me of back, and it's been years since I've been to like a rap concert, but like. Back when it was grimy and you don't know who was going to get on stage, and it might just say some stuff, and so I appreciate it when I catch it, but I think it needs to be more accessible. It's just it was going to survive. It needs to be a more accessible medium, and because you know I text you every like, oh, it's on. How do I get to this again? Like an old man I am.
Like an old man with technology.
Like, what is it on? You tell me the same thing every week, but I can never remember. Like every time, but I never remember. So it's going to have to evolve if it wants to go past when we're not locked in our houses.
So, Chris, do you think maybe, just maybe, to give Verzuz a fresh take, we need to go outside of the culture? Maybe we get different artists to participate in it.
I mean, they are already talking, and it was a rumor, but they were talking about Stevie Wonder versus Elton John as a possibility and stuff. If Elton John,
I'd watch that.
The passport situation, because you know we can't go into London and stuff. So it's like, do we bring Stevie here or do we bring Elton here? Which one do we do, or do we just do it online and hope we don't get a Teddy Riley situation? You know, so it's like it's a tough call on that one. You know, and the thing of it is, if I think Verzuz is going to continue, but they just got to be smart about it. That's all. And once we get to a point where, see, I can't even say normal, but like things get to a degree of like we can go outside, you can have a Verzuz type concert. Because people, I tell you what, if we didn't have COVID and somebody said, yeah, DMX and Snoop are going to have like a set at a concert, motherfuckers would go. They would go. I
would pay.
They will pay money to see these two on stage just doing their greatest hits.
Exactly.
Not even separately, but like on stage together, just chilling. They will pay for that. Just like people will pay for Brandy and Monica on stage, despite the shade Brandy was throwing to Monica and stuff. They will pay for that. You know, they will pay for that and stuff because it's viable. So it just depends on who's the Verzuz and stuff. You know,
and we get to enjoy the music of our youth without having to worry about getting shot over some rap.
Yeah, I mean, because right now, like I said, the Patty and Gladys Knight thing was great. Seeing Dionne Warwick chilling in the cut and then just diving in at the end, and I thought that was great. I mean, it's those moments. The
memes have been hilarious since their battle.
I mean, because Lois of Low Key, Jill Scott and Erykah Badu one was great too. Like it wasn't the Verzuz. It was just like Gladys and Patty, where they were just reminiscing over our music, chill.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a jam session. It's a jam session.
Yeah,
that's what I think is a potential benefit here. Is once things get back to some form of normal, then you could create a baseline for these sets, so you don't have to worry about technical difficulties or somebody producer not knowing how to work certain aspects, sound check issues and stuff like that. They say, "Hey, Apple Studios or wherever the hell it's going to be, we're bringing in these 2 people this week. It's already set up. You know, they talk to the stage manager about how they want the aesthetics and everything to look, but you don't have to worry about sign. And then that means like they're just elevating it each and every time, because now you don't have to worry about the small things that gave Nelly the St. Louis Storm issue and so on. So you know, I look forward to the quality getting better and better. And again, with Apple backing, like we should be seeing this at least another year.
Yeah. Or anyone who was backstage and didn't put Patty's words on a teleprompter, or the sound man who repeatedly played Midnight Train to Georgia and made Gladys sing and hit those notes on every song.
Or who allowed Jada Kiss to get so drunk and just went off the rail.
But that's the good part of Verzuz is we get these classic moments with these classic artists. So I'll ask each one of you to end this topic, what is your next dream Verzuz matchup? So I'm starting with you, Ant.
Oh shit! Can I go next?
All right.
I didn't read anything.
All right, Chris, what is your Verzuz matchup?
See, I'm gonna go out there. I would have to go like Michael McDonald versus like Bobby Caldwell or some shit like that. Just go out there, like
White Soul.
No, because you have to go. Like to me at this point, I just don't want because you have to go to those different artists, and I think because look, everybody thinks that black people don't know anything about Bobby Caldwell, Michael McDonald. We fuck with both of those two heavily. So
we own both of those two. They black. We took them away from white people.
I have to go in that category. You gotta go obscure on that level right there, man.
Hey, Najir, who is your next? Wait to see?
I feel like I'm like underprepared here, but this may be a bias, but I know somebody's gonna feel me on this one. But I'm gonna go Dave Hollister versus Jaheim.
Wow. Woo! Listen, all he got to do is play Chicago 85 the movie, and I'm good. I don't need to hit nothing else. Nothing else from Dave. Chicago 85 the movie, and I'm good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Ant, we coming back. What's your dream Verzuz matchup?
I don't know who they would. I don't know who they would go against, but I have three people I would just want to see come back. Or not come back, but like I want to see Wu-Tang versus somebody else. Just know who they could go against. I want to see Naughty by Nature go against somebody, but I don't know who they go against. And I want to see Coolio because I don't know what Coolio is doing right now. I want to make sure he's
Coolio and PD Pablo for you. I can match that one easily. That's not going to go 20 songs in though, but
Wu-Tang and Naughty by Nature. You literally said it. You named two groups, Wu-Tang and Naughty by Nature. Now, before we go to the next topic, I say mine, and I'm waiting for it, and I'm praying and hoping that this one actually happens. Please set up Miss Anita Baker versus Sade. I need Tim and them to get that together. That is the matchup everybody is waiting for. Everybody's waiting for that matchup. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to switch gears on the next topic here. So, J.K. Rowling and the trans community has been going back and forth for about the last 3 months. And today...
More than 3 months, but you're right.
Yeah, today it gets hyped even more as J.K. releases a new book today that in the book, the serial killer who is male dresses up as a woman and kills women. And the trans community has come out to say that this book is transphobic and should be boycotted and banned. Now, also, please keep in mind, the story that she based the novel off of is actually a true story of a man who dressed up as a woman to kill a woman.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that one, but
that's why we got. So that's why we got a question here: is who's going too far in this battle between JK and the trans community? And I'm going to start with you first, Najir.
So my answer is going to be really short. So the premise of the book, I did not know was based off of a true story. Mm-hmm. I do know it is very similar to the plot of the movie Psycho.
Yes.
So I initially was, because I have not been diving into this war that's been happening on Twitter.
Ooh, it's been bad.
My Twitter is kind of very sports centric, so I'm not seeing a lot of that. So when I initially saw this, I said, "Well, what's the problem with the book? It's the movie. It's based off of a movie. She didn't do anything new here. This is literally something else." But did I see that the issue isn't just strictly the book? It's the person behind the book, and then people are, I guess, I'm feeling there's a narrative being driven through the book. It's like one of those, like, hey, I'm gonna play innocent, and no one's going to care about it. But although I'm throwing shade on the low, and it's coming in the form of a novel. So to be honest, I don't know enough to really say anything about it, but I do know that when it comes down to JK, I'm only here to talk about wizards, and everything else I don't know anything about.
All right, so next up, Ant, I'm gonna give it to you next. What do you think about JK versus the trans community?
So first, this kind of reminds me of what we talked about with Lovecraft the other day when they were talking about you killed a transgender. We don't know that character was a transgender character. We just know that it had, that they had a penis.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This character putting on a dress doesn't mean they're transgender. Now, I do think so. At first, let me go back. I personally don't care what anybody does, right? And I support everybody's right to say fuck society. And do what you want to do to make yourself happy. I think at first, from what I saw of JK's comments, if she believes that, she believes that. Move on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it has nothing to do with your life. Move on. I think that at this point, though, you're rubbing a nose in it. You're trying to pick a fight. Like, that's what it seems like to me. Like, if you already have an issue going on with that, and you're trying to pick a fight. But I think that just because the character puts on, I don't know anything about the story, but just because a character puts on a dress doesn't make them transgender, right? Puts on a dress doesn't make them transgender. So I'm not sure if you're beefing the beef or who's really beefing. Are these the loud people that are just loud enough to make an impact in its news? You know what I mean? Because it doesn't really affect your fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have anything to do with you unless you force it. You're pegging it in. Now, I get it. This might work because you're like, oh, what is she trying to say something? Maybe she is. I don't know. But this has nothing to do with your issue or your topic, as far as I see. And so no one's explained to me very clearly why this would offend that community. You know what I mean?
Especially for a book that wasn't written 3-4 months ago. I'm pretty sure this book was written a year ago, and it's just getting released now.
And
now, Chris.
Sorry. No, I was going to say, from what I understand, her comment was more. Her comment about transgender was more around the fact that we can't ignore the issues. The issues that are specific to people that are identified as women as birth. Like, you can't ignore those issues because you want to be inclusive. And I've had this, and for you people who don't know, some of us are in Maryland. They have new things where we have to get training on certain diversity issues and say certain things. Mm-hmm. And I had a big debate with someone that was like, they thought we should take away all gender stuff from our forms. And I had to explain to him that we prescribe medication, and the medication that depending on your gender or your chromosomes could be harmful to you. So there are specific issues in that. And I'm not defending her because I don't know all of her comments. I'm saying there's probably a more nuanced discussion here that no sides are actually having.
Now, Chris, me and you have been talking about this topic for months. We've made multiple points about this topic. So I'm just gonna open the floor. So give me your opinion about this new issue that's been brought up with the book and J.K. Rowling.
It's spawning from that initial comment that she made about the whole like trans women are women thing and stuff, where she pointed out, because at first I was like, maybe everybody's justified and pissed off at her when she said that, right? Then I looked into it and I was like, she does have a point, so I'm thinking it's spawning off that one. And it's kind of funny that Hagrid, the actor that played Hagrid, is like co-signing JK through this whole thing, which I'm like, oh well, there you go. I mean,
she gave him a comfortable living. You know where his bread is buttered.
hey, look, man, because everybody else in the cast, turned their back on JK in a way and stuff. And so I don't know. It's just the whole thing with the whole trans and the book and stuff. It's like, it's a book. It's based on something that's real. What do you want her to do? Like, unless they think that she wrote the book out of a sense of being on purpose, like, oh, she's taking the jab at the trans people again because she wrote this book. And I'm like, it's based off of real life.
Wrote it in 3 months. Wrote it in 3 months. That's my thing. Wrote it in 3 months.
I mean, she had time, clearly, but I mean, but like the whole thing, like I get where she's coming from with all this and stuff. I do feel she does kind of poke the bear sometimes where I'm like, come on, JK, what are you doing? Like, chill, like, but I mean, what do you want to do and stuff like, because to me, I don't think a lot of people that go into these the statements that they're making are coming at it from like fuck trans people kind of thing. Because all of us are, let's be real, all of us are still trying to understand the whole transgender thing. Even I am, and I'm like, sure, like the whole pseudonym he, she, her, him, and I'm like, I don't get that. I still don't understand that. But I don't know. Like I said, she gonna do what she gonna do, and it ain't clearly ain't hurting the cash flow.
Clearly, it's not at this point. So
oh, she wealthy regardless. She's wealthy.
She don't have to go to Hollywood for money. She really don't. It's like whatever. I'm pretty sure somebody might adopt that book into a movie, possibly.
Well, it's J.K. Rowling. 9 times out of 10, the rights have actually been sold before the book dropped. That's just the way it happens to go.
Pre-sold.
But this is just something to discuss again, as this is another controversy that's been brought to light all over again that we kind of thought had died off. At this point, as I think all of you kind of said, maybe it's just time for each side to listen to each other and just make peace with everything. That could be the best bet. And speaking of things not making full peace with one another, streaming wars with streaming news. This week, Peacock just announced that it has now hit 15 million subscribers. We also had the Netflix controversy surrounding the amazing movie Cuties. That's thinking for people. And in today's news, CBS All Access has decided to change their name to Paramount Plus. And in general, all Paramount content, it looks like, will now be dropped on CBS All Access. So, gentlemen, out of those big 3 pieces of news from streaming, which one takes the cake for you? And I'm going to go right back to Mr. Powell here.
The Cuties thing kind of, obviously is the big hot topic and stuff because apparently Netflix, the numbers, well, I don't know if the numbers came out, but apparently there was like a downstream and a lot of people that withdrew from the platform. Apparently that's the story, allegedly and stuff. And it's kind of funny to me that a movie that Netflix, let's just be real, they dropped the ball on how they marketed it because clearly somebody there didn't watch the fucking movie. They just, I guess, maybe saw the trailer and was like, oh, these girls are preparing for a dance competition. How'd you get that out of, So Netflix, they fucked up on the marketing top to bottom, just across the board. And between that and you got people, not just conservative right-wingers that have been like grilling against the movie. There have been some people, black people, that have been grilling against the movie, like, fuck that bitch, she blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, whoa, like, dude, chill. Did you watch the movie? No. Well, how do you know? And it's just, it blew up, but now it's kind of funny that now nobody's really not talking about it, and stuff, but it's just that story behind it that everybody's talking. And I'm like, whatever, what are you going to do? But it is kind of making me side eye to people at Netflix. Like, who was responsible for making the poster? Who was responsible that did all this? Like, why would you do that? Did you do it on purpose to get controversy? And it's unfortunate because even the director came out and was like, well, I know next time I need to be at the head of these marketing things because this is not what I wanted out of the movie.
Now, I'll throw you a quick curveball before I go to the next person. Could that be because Netflix marketed this movie to the French audience? That's who the movie was made for. It is a foreign film, not an American audience. So overseas, we do not hear the outrage on the marketing at all compared to what the U.S.
It was really the poster that got everybody kind of riled up more than anything. Because if you look at the original French poster, which they should have used, it was fine and normal. It's just girls with shopping bags, and you're like, okay, I don't know what this movie's about, but it looks like it's a foreign flick, whatever. Versus the Netflix poster, which looks like Bring It On for toddlers, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Like, granted, again, if you've watched the movie, that's like literally the last 2 minutes of the movie, and it's not even a big deal that everybody made it out to be, but it is what it is.
Mr. Najir, what caught your eye on this topic for streaming news?
I guess for diversity here, I'm going to go with the now rest in peace of CBS All Access. I mean, I brought it up before. I mean, CBS All Access has great content, but it's not competitive. And with streaming services, and with CBS being part of Viacom, and everybody else is going up to their I don't know, but we'll just say their top level. So you got Warner Brothers, even though it's HBO Max, Warner Brothers. That's basically Warner Brothers is inclusive streaming service because it has all the branches of everything involved with it. And Disney obviously did it with all their branches, but then you had this lone star of a CBS out there, and it's like, hey, Viacom, so it makes sense marketing wise that this happened. CBS All Access didn't get the momentum that it thought it would. The whole Star Trek little slate of shows didn't really help as much as they thought it would. So this is another attempt to be competitive in here. So in hearing this news, I wasn't surprised. And then considering now they got a lot of shows that they're getting ready to do some reboots for, The Game, Girlfriends. I think this is just another attempt to saying like, hey,
the Godfather show.
Excuse me. Yes,
it's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, the most important one.
Wait,
excuse
what?
me on that.
Yes.
Wait, they're making a Godfather TV show?
They're making a TV show based off of the novel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same people who basically produced the film. Like that whole same team is really
Scorsese,
coming back to
Coppola,
do the show.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
if it's people make the movie, it could be doing something. But all right, no, sorry, I didn't interrupt. Go ahead.
yeah, but I mean, it wasn't surprising news because it just makes sense. So the news happening right now is a perfect time. The launch is going to be 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how this puts some player into the game, especially with everybody else taking strides in becoming the most dominant of the services. This puts them back into the game, competitive, and we'll see if they can turn around some revenue from this finally.
And last but not least, what piece of streaming news caught your attention the most?
So two, the Cuties one and the CBS one. So for the Cuties one, again, Verzuz, like it's a lot of Western cultural ideas being projected onto a different culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, so even ratings and stuff, like we're more sensitive to nudity, but you go to Europe, they're more sensitive to violence. You know what I mean? And so you have, again, I have not seen this movie, but I've heard a lot of people who yell and talk about how this movie's promote pedophilia who haven't seen the movie. And from what I understand it, from sources I trust, the movie is saying how this particular lifestyle, which I would say the dance culture, the kids pageant culture, they're all in these same bubbles, how they have a negative impact on kids. And people having a problem with they actually use kid actors, right? But that's nothing new. The Wire used young actors to portray a certain problem in American cities. City of God used young actors. So
Yes.
and it might make you feel uncomfortable, but it's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. Now, again, I have not seen the movie, so I can't. But I would say that in our country, in America, we like to think that we are the world. Like the whole world see things the way we see them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch some French movies look like pornos. They be straight up.
Oh yes, they are.
Woo! Chris is like, I've seen a couple of but
yeah.
But it's a different thing that's going to shock you, and you're missing the point. And I think we miss the point a lot in when we look at art and media, and it made you uncomfortable, but you're uncomfortable for the wrong reasons. This is what it sounds like to me.
And I just want to add. I just want to add really quick that a lot of people don't do the service in going beyond the headlines. There are so many different reporting outlets who says I'm going to try to say the hottest, most slanderous topic that I can or headline that I can to make people read, no matter if it does this justice to everything else.
There were big name YouTubers that review Cuties but didn't even watch the fucking movie, which annoys the hell out of me.
And right. And so you have people who are copping on buzzwords, and we have certain buzzwords in our cultures that we jump on. If you say it's for the children, what about the children?
You say the word cancel nowadays. That goes a long way without people actually doing the research.
Exactly.
And we do it a disservice to the problems that are actually affecting. Because again, saying this promotes pedophilia, from what I understand, it does not. It shows how this culture this dance culture is negatively affecting children. And your big issue is, because I've seen some people that are really intelligent, they're like, well, my big issue is they could have used older actors to portray younger actors. Well, maybe it would have made any news, and maybe nobody would have looked at what was going on, you know? And again, I don't know, but that's my thought about that. And my other thought about, I have CBS All Access. There's nothing on there but Star Trek. And only reason I have it is because we talk about it.
Twilight Zone.
And even Star
Twilight Zone, yeah, that's been actually dope.
No, Twilight Zone. I've only seen the first season. Twilight Zone is not worth. None of those things are worth your subscription. None of, you love. That's a whole different conversation.
I will.
You support the movement. I got you for the cause. For the cause.
No, it's not for the cause. I'm just saying, like everybody loves Black Mirror, but it's the better Black Mirror to me. And obviously Jordan Peele is the better.
You think
it is?
You would compare the first season of Twilight Zone to the first season of Black Mirror?
No, I'm competing the show for sure. I think that Twilight Zone is a better show.
The second season,
than Black Mirror.
The second season.
And on top of that too, it makes sense because Black Mirror is an anthology. So yeah, each and every episode is not going to have the same continuity. So why when you talk Black Mirror, people say this one's my favorite. No one goes out there and say all of Black Mirror is good.
Hell no.
What season of
hold up before we
two seasons, right?
But before we break down, before we break down into one specific show on the streaming service, just finish your point, and then I'll make a point after you finish your point about CBS All Access.
My point is that you can find the more popular Star Trek shows on Netflix, right? You can find them on other platforms. There's really no reason to buy CBS unless you're talking about it, or you just you're a Star Trek fan that just wants to consume everything, and you don't like Discovery or Lower Decks. But is it really worth your subscription? And I feel like the most popular Star Trek show watched during this lockdown has been Voyager. Voyager is not the best of the golden age, but it's been Voyager, right? And then TNG. There's no reason, and I think they've lost unless something comes out that turns the table. They've lost streaming wars. They're like that last island holding out that the other nations are like, we don't have time to invade that, but when we deal with you, we're gonna come to your ass. That's how it feels to me.
No, you're right. I won't be long, but you're right. It's the point of that. CBS is just a team, and everybody else are leagues, and they're not going to be able to compete with a whole league, no matter how many good players that team has. And I think like CBS, they market it so hard that the Star Trek fans were completely making these shows completely exclusive to it, was completely going to drive in subscribers. And while that may have worked 5 years ago in the streaming service war, everybody else has been up in the ante. And now we're looking at on the business side of things, or the entertainment business side of things. So again, you got Warner Media, and then you got Disney over here, and then you have CBS over here. But now with Viacom / Paramount Plus, we'll see we'll see how it is come 2022, since it launches 2021, of how it competes with it.
I'll say this about all the categories. I'll quickly run through them so we can get to this last topic. First and foremost, no one brought up the Peacock hitting 15 million subscribers. That is an amazing feat for a service that's moving as fast as Peacock is moving. At this point, NBC and Comcast, because this has really been pushed by Comcast, they have a weapon that no one saw coming for the most part. I predicted that this would be the service that would compete and eventually overtake Hulu, and it kind of looks like this is exactly the road they're going down.
Absolutely.
As for Netflix and Cuties, please watch the movie before you judge the movie. The movie is absolutely nothing based off of everyone on the right wing, and this is coming from someone who is a right wing person, pushes about this movie. None of that is actually true. This is a coming of age story about a young woman who rebels against her family and tries to become an adult too fast. And she realizes in the end of the movie that everything she was doing was wrong, and she reverts back to being the kid she should be and enjoy her childhood. Please watch the movie before you judge the movie. And last but not least, as we get to Paramount Plus, I'm just going to say this, Ant. I understand what you're saying about Star Trek. You're forgetting one of the best shows on television is on CBS All Access, and it is their biggest driver, which is The Good Fight. And A Good Fight drives a lot of content. CBS, unlike other streaming services, is set for a certain age group.
Yeah.
And that's why Viacom has always pushed CBS All Access the way they do, because Viacom technically has other streaming services. If Viacom was to ever put all their content under one streaming service, they would probably have more content than anyone else.
BT,
because they had you got
so
BT Plus.
I agree with
you
that.
Got Comedy Central.
You
have all these other services alone.
So from the geeks, I would just go to Babylon 5.
Now, but also keep in mind, 9 times out of 10, they haven't fully predicted how this Paramount Plus thing is going to launch, but it looks like what they're doing is putting all of their content on one place. So to me, what we have to wonder is, come 2021, how will it affect every other streaming service if Viacom pulls all their content off of them and put them all on Paramount Plus?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why it's taking a year to do so.
You know, I heard a rumor that Lucas, I heard a rumor that the heiress of Viacom or Paramount, I can't remember what it was, but she's taking more of a hands-on role to like what they're doing, and that might be the direction they're going in.
I believe you're talking about that. For people who did not know, also just 6 to 8 months ago, CBS and Viacom re-merged together. They had separated years ago, and they just re-merged back as one company. And since they re-merged back as one company, it looks like their goal is to put all their content under one service. That's what has Paramount Plus looking so interesting. Also, for people that don't know, Paramount currently has a deal with Netflix to push content over there. If we get that Nickelodeon content that is currently on Netflix, which includes The Last Airbender and everything associated with The Last Airbender, if that is pushed to Paramount Plus along with Viacom and CBS, all their content, you now have a mega monster that is going to be very hard to compete with.
Oh, one other thing.
Forget the Star Trek people. Hold on, forget the Star Trek people. If you had the original creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender make another cartoon series, you would pull 2 generations, and then people who just discovered it now on Netflix, you would pull them all to that streaming service. But it's just how popular it is now from people who just discovered it. People that watched it back then, I think you do a lot. So I think you might be right. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But
go ahead, Najee. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, last thing. Live sports. Name another streaming service that has that.
And that's Peacock's biggest grab right now, is that Peacock has live sports, and you can't beat it. And it looks like, I'm believing they're going to be streaming the NFL also live. Like Peacock.
I think Amazon Prime did it for a hot second with live sports, which I was like, I wish they kept that going, because that was actually a pretty good.
And now Peacock has soccer on lock. They have so many different sports on lock, and they're growing and growing. Now, speaking of things growing and growing, pause inserted for anyone who needs to. This week, this week we had the trailer drop for the new season of The Mandalorian. Now, The Mandalorian's first season is one of the biggest first seasons in television history. It is currently the #1 show worldwide. I don't know how Disney managed, or what they plan was in place, that they managed to get out a second season of this during a pandemic, which kind of makes me wonder, did they go into production immediately following, or did they just run production straight through to give themselves some leeway on the seasons? But gentlemen, with the second season of the biggest global phenomenon returning, can The Mandalorian get even bigger? Najee, I'm gonna start with you.
To your initial thought, did they film it all together? I'm gonna guess yes, because at least half of it. I've been a firm believer of shows that they know are really successful. They overshoot. It's 8 episodes, so I'm tend to think that they did 10 to 12 of it. And then they can always catch back up. They still got time to do so. So I'm thinking you're right on that note. Can it get bigger? I mean, what's bigger at this point? I think they got their fan base, and there's the Star Wars folks and the Disney Plus subscribers who some people are locked in for 3 years already with the initial deals. And people who don't have is going to tune in. It's coming around holiday season, so that's another draw where we don't have a Star Wars film coming out this Christmas, so maybe they really push hard as to that being the Star Wars thing of the holiday season. So I honestly don't feel that Disney knew it was going to be this big, but now that they're here, they prepare wisely. I mean, think about this: when it first came out, you had the launch of the Star Wars parks. I can't think of the name of it right now.
Galaxy's Edge.
Galaxy's
Edge. So both of them went live, and then Star Wars Day became a thing for within the con community, and the Disney Plus.
It was always a thing. It was been a thing for a while.
Yeah, but as a staple in the convention community now, I mean, now people are legitimately putting that on their map. They're saying like, hey, that's one I got to go to. So this the number of people in the coverage that went in for the Chicago one last year, it just all like the perfect storm, like one of you all said. It was a really perfect storm for this show, and I think that they're just going to just continue to just ride that. And I don't think there's nothing that needs to be done. They made huge casting news earlier, and then they're bringing in a fan favorite in Ahsoka. So it's gonna be a good season. The trailer didn't do much for me because it didn't really show much. I mean, quite frankly, everybody wants to see Ahsoka as Rosario Dawson's playing her, but I don't think there's nothing. I don't think there's nothing to like think it's gonna go beyond it just being a good show. Oh, and I keep forgetting my main point. As far as preparation, why I feel like you're right, Lou. When the show was completed, there was so much more content with this show. The making of the show. So you had the making of the show, then you had like the round tables with the makers of the show. There was just a lot of stuff that revolved the show that was just all available at once. So I don't think there's like an idea of it being a bigger show. I just think that it's going to continue riding the success.
So, Ant, can this season of The Mandalorian be bigger than the first season of The Mandalorian?
I think so. You have people who don't like Star Wars, but are only keeping Disney Plus for The Mandalorian Season 2. And I think that, and if you also look at Mandalorian Season 1, I don't think when Mandalorian Season 1 was being made, I'm not saying it wasn't a priority, but I feel like a lot of big wigs weren't looking at it the way they were looking at the movies. They had decided that TV was going to be the place for Star Wars yet. Because I think they did a story where they talked about how they didn't have enough Stormtrooper costumes for the Mandalorian, so they had to get the local cosplayers, the local 501st, to like come in and do extras. So you're talking about a Disney property, they have enough costume designs for basic ass Stormtrooper armor, versus what we saw in this trailer. It looks like they have a bigger budget. There's more being paid attention to them. They're gonna have a bigger push. Baby Yoda. There's people who never watched Star Wars, even know who Yoda was. I mean, I'm not gonna say know who Yoda was, but didn't really know much about Yoda. Who know Baby Yoda? So I think that the buzz and the goodwill for Mandalorian coming up, and the fact that it's a pretty simplistic plot in the first one, if they keep that formula, I think they're gonna. I think Mandalorian not only is going to be good for Star Wars, I think it's going to be good for Disney Plus. What they wanted to do from Mulan, I think they're going to get from Mandalorian. Would be my opinion to this.
Hey, Lou, before you ask Chris a question, make sure you realize that we've all been wrong by calling this the Mandalorian Season 2, that it is Baby Yoda Season 2 from what I'm seeing online.
So Chris, I'm going to ask you about Baby Yoda Season 2. Do you believe, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to frame it a little differently. Do you believe that Disney kind of adjusted for this show to be the hit that it became?
Yeah, they adjusted just like Fox adjusted for Deadpool, because you remember Fox didn't really they just let Ryan Reynolds and them do whatever for Deadpool.
They no faith.
It wasn't even faith. It was just like, hey, we're focused on the X-Men and doing our New Mutants. Y'all can do y'all thing with Deadpool because it's separate from what we're doing. Do whatever. And then when they saw how much Deadpool was bringing in, like, oh shit, this is a huge hit. All right, hey Ryan, here's some more money. Do whatever you want on Deadpool 2. You know, and I like that Ryan and them, they made fun of that. Like, they gave us more money so we can get Juggernaut in the movie now. We can do all this. So that's what they're doing with Mandalorian. I think Disney, I don't know if you pointed it out, but I feel Disney is starting to realize that TV for Star Wars is more viable than the actual movie side is. And maybe they also want to kind of move away from the controversy from the movie and stuff, from how everything went, but also too on the video game side, they got the little Rogue Squadron game coming out. So they're going to want to do a TV show based around that, possibly, maybe. I don't know.
I think they have one already lined up coming for that.
Yeah, so they want
there's
so they're going to probably try to lean more so on the TV side.
There's some scary stuff
if they
in that,
do
though.
movie, cool.
Now that people are paying attention to it.
I think with season 2 of Mandalorian, it's definitely going to be big. Like Giancarlo is going to be probably just as huge as he was the last episode last season and stuff. They're definitely going a bit bigger, but it doesn't seem as though they're running away from what worked in the first season. It's like, all right, well, we're just going to keep what worked. It's an old Western in space.
Exactly.
We're just keep that vibe, and we're just going to add some characters in it and just have fun with this. And
I'm gonna let Najir close this out with my last question, because I pay a lot of attention to you all when you talk. I know you don't think I do, but I pay a lot of attention to you all. I heard a lot of comments about making this show bigger than the first season. I have a question. Could you make a show that technically had a budget of over $175 million bigger in a season, or could you just broaden the scope? Najir, to close us out.
It's a weird thing because there's so much source material for Star Wars. There's so many different directions you can go. But this fan base right here, as we all know, any wrong turn on a route and it's over. It is absolutely over. I love what Chris said.
Blaming the fans.
And no, the fans are the ones who watches it. So when you say bigger, you can have the biggest budget in the world, but if no one watches it, then what does it matter? So
but that's not the fans' fault.
And we also live in the cancel culture world. We just talked about Cuties. You know, I didn't see it, but I already knew it was deeper than what people were just reading the headlines ago. So my point is that I think that, keep on track here. Keep your same miles per hour. You can accelerate a little bit, but don't go too fast. Don't have the cops looking at you, shall I say? But I think when it comes down to increasing the budget and what they can do, I think Ann brings it up a good point again with the costume designs, going that way, maybe hyping in the CG budget a little bit, but keep the same tone, keep the same feel, and I think that's this success that they had with the first season, it'll just become bigger because it's just a continuation. But was it actually bigger? Probably not. I think that it's just going to just be continued success as long as everyone keeps the same vision that they went in with the first season.
Kind of like Spider-Man 2.
Yes.
I know it's a weird analogy. It's a weird analogy there. Spider-Man 2 wasn't as big as Spider-Man 1, but it feels as big as Spider-Man 1. Exactly. So we're closing out with that. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in to the Rundown with Lou. We will catch you again next Wednesday. Peace, people.